Coming home. Mashyach. Messiah. 6. A thoughtful reply. Wanting what God wants. We have discovered that God never asks us to pray, preferring that we listen. He is especially averse to the prayers of those unwilling to consider what he has to share in his Torah. And yet, we know that Dowd spoke with Yah. Many of his songs were written in response to what he had learned from his father. When responding to God in this way, Dowd was respectful, and his approach was reasonable. There was always a pattern to his tefillah, thoughtful requests to intervene and a desire to be set apart, one we'd be wise to consider. He addressed Yahowah by the name God asked us to use, now and forevermore. And that is because he had read and accepted the provision Yahowah gave Moses in Shemoth names. Dowd was particularly careful to express his requests under the auspices of free will, conveying his desire in the cohortative while acknowledging Yah's will as an imperative. He wanted what Yah wanted. Further, Dowd sought what was tzedek, right. Nothing was more important. For Dowd, and indeed for all humanity, being correct is the difference between life and death. As we embark on our rendering of Dowd's 17th Mizmor song, please be aware that I've supplied the pronouns you and I to properly reflect the intent of the imperative and cohortative moods because there is no English equivalent to them without doing so. And it would be disrespectful and misleading to disregard the way these volitional moods shape this instructive dialogue. A thoughtful request to intervene, tefillah, an oral petition to act as a mediator after considerable contemplation about being set apart, by Dowd, La Dowd, regarding the beloved. You want to hear this because I've chosen to genuinely listen, Shama, it is your will and my desire to emphatically listen, Cal imperative cohortative pedagogic he energic second person masculine singular, Yahowah, Yahowah, God's proper name pronounced as taught and guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his Haya, existence through Moses, to what is right and vindicating, tzedek, to that which is correct, accurate and honest, just and fair, in accord with the standard, and acquitting. You want to respond to what I've chosen to hear, so please accept, Kashab, it is your will and my desire to pay attention to the information we share, acknowledge the truth, and then reply appropriately to each other, being alert, observant, and attentive, ready for action, hyphal imperative cohortative pedagogic he energic second person masculine singular, my audible request in this joyful song, Rina Eni, my uplifting lyrics and pleasing melody with a message and an appeal conveyed in the words, which provide genuine happiness. Choose of your own volition to weigh and evaluate what I would like you to consider, Azan. It is your will to contemplate and test, and then respond to what you hear from me because I've chosen to listen perceptively, to pay attention, seeking to understand the message, prompting me to respond in a considerate and rational manner, hyphal imperative cohortative pedagogic he energic second person masculine singular, in my thoughtful petition to serve as a mediator, tefillah, Eni, my oral request to intervene after considerable contemplation about being set apart. Mizmor/lyrics to sing /Psalm 17 verse 1. As long as our approach is correct, as long as we embrace the proper order of things, listening to God before we ask him to listen to us, life is wonderful. He delights in honoring our requests when they are consistent with his agenda, and the greatest example was Dowd's request to act on our behalf as our Redeemer. With 2 appearances within the preceding statement, this is now the 7th time we have contemplated the intent of tefillah and its root, palel, when used in association with Dowd. Also, to provide full disclosure, while palel is used in conjunction with tefillah, and is designated as the root of tefillah by Strong's, I have in the past made the argument that pala to set apart and distinguish as special could also shape its meaning. As we review the 4th, 5th, and 6th Mizmor, tefillah and palel appear numerous times. With regard to my announcement to be called out, to be invited and welcomed while reading and reciting aloud in conjunction with the Mikra Ba Kara Eni, answer me, Anna Eni, Almighty God, Elohim, of my vindication and of me being right, Sadak Eni. In the event of troubling confinement and being constrained by the adversary, Ba Hazar, you have provided a breadth of opportunities for me, including vastly expanding my dwelling place along with providing ample relief for me, Rakabla Eni. You have chosen to favor me and to be merciful to me, Chanan Eni. And so, you decided to listen to, Shama, my reasonable request to intervene, tefillah, Eni, my adoring communication and petition to intercede by being set apart, from palel, thoughtful meditation and a request for intercession based upon an accurate assessment and sound reasoning and or pala, to be uniquely special. Mizmor 4:1. Sons of men, offspring of humankind, Beni, Ysh, for how long, Adma, will my significance, honor, and valuable reward, my enormous contribution, deserved respect, and tremendous gift, dignity, reputation, and status, Kabod Eni, be depreciated and devalued, dishonored and insulted, Kalama? Will you choose to continually love, preferring to romanticize, Akab, vain delusions which have no basis in fact, worthless myths, and total fantasies, RYQ, seeking, Bakash, the irrational lies and deceptive misconceptions pertaining to false gods, Kazab? Pause now and contemplate this, Selah. Mizmor 4:2. That was as clear as words allow. We can either accept Dowd's request to intervene on our behalf while fulfilling Chag Matzah or listen to fairy tales. Next. We both agree that it is mutually beneficial if you listen attentively and respond accordingly, Kashab, to the sound, Lakau, of my urgent and significant request, Shua Eni, my sovereign and counselor, Melech Eni, and my God, Wa Elah. Indeed, because, KY, for you, El Ada, and solely on my own initiative, I want to provide the justification to intervene, palel, independently, and on my own accord, having thought about all future contingencies while foreseeing the future, I want to be persuasive in conveying my point of view, presenting an argument to intercede, working as a mediator to arbitrate an agreement, Hitpeel imperfect. Mizmor 5:2. Yahowah, Yahowah, in the morning when it's best to gain information regarding the sacrifice as the sun rises during a new day of enlightenment, Boker, you hear, Shama, the sound of my voice, Kaul Eni. At the outset of the day, Boker, I make arrangements and prepare myself for you such that I'm competent and correct, ready for you to deploy, patterning myself after you so that I'm able to be used, Barak la Ada. Then I remain watchful and focused, properly adorned with everything arranged, Watsapa. Mizmor 5:3. The reference to the morning, during which we gain the information needed to become enlightened regarding Dowd's role in our salvation, is that of Bikurim which was fulfilled in year 4000 Yah. Dowd proved himself competent and correct, a worthy son to deploy. Then you have chosen to promote healing and restoration through me, Rapha, Eni, Yahowah, because, KY, my essential essence, Etzem Eni, is anxious, eager to hasten the terrifying process and agony, Bahal. Mizmor 6:2. In addition, my soul, Nipesh Eni, is enormously eager and anxious about the terrifying agony, Mio di Bahal. So, you, Ada, Yahowah, will commence the restoring witness, Ada, Admati. Mizmor 6:3. Yahowah, you and I both want you to return, Chalaz Nipesh Eni. It is my desire and your decision to deliver salvation with my soul, Shalatz Nipesh Eni. You want to deliver me, liberating, rescuing, and saving through me, Yasha Eni, because of the witness this provides to, Laman, your enduring love, unfailing kindness, tremendous generosity, and loyal devotion, Chisit Ada. Mizmor 6:4. For indeed, by contrast, there is nothing but a void, all is for naught, because there is no, Ein, remembrance or mention of you, Zikr, Ada, in the plague of death, the pandemic disease that causes entire populations to die, Ba Hamoth. In Shial and with Shayul, Ba Shial, who, will come to know you, expressing their appreciation for you, even recognize or acknowledge you, Yada Ada. Mizmor 6:5. I have done my part, expending time and energy, Yaga, to the point of exhaustion, enduring physical and then emotional pain, Ba Anacha Eni. Within the all-encompassing darkness, Ba Kol Layla, I swim, Sacha, within my bed of twisted injustice, Maida Eni, with my weeping and tears, Ba Daima Eni. My place of repose, Iresh Eni, is of testing, a trial focused on achieving the proper response, Masa. Mizmor 6:6. My eyes no longer function properly as my ability to witness this is incapacitated, Ash Ein Eni, as a result of, this distressful situation, this mockery and provocation based upon erroneous perceptions and the annoying sadness associated with these taunts and errant assessments, Kaas. The condition is growing old and deteriorating, Athak, with all of my adversities, confinement, degradation, and troubles, Ba Colt Serer Eni. Mizmor 6:7. Get away from me, whether by compulsion or choice, leave me alone, go away because you are rejected and forsaken and will be taken away or abolished, Sir Min Eni, all of you who carry out, Kol Pa'al, that which is corrupt and deceitful, injurious and fraudulent, because, KY, Yahowah, has heard, Shama, the voice sounding, Kaul, my lament and the expressions of my consternation, Baki Eni. Mizmor 6:8. Yahowah, has listened to, Shama, this favor for me, Tekina Eni. Yahowah, has received, grasped hold of, and accepts, Lakach, my thoughtful request to intervene, Tefillah Eni, my desire to provide intercession which distinguishes and sets apart, from Palo, meditation regarding intervening, judgment based upon thoughtful consideration, and a diligent assessment leading to a responsible reaction, to consider, decide, and judge and Paula, to be set apart. Mizmor 6:9. Dowd's soul served us in all of these ways, and yet, the religious have tried to foreclose on the benefit. The greatest gift ever offered has been maligned and misappropriated for far too long. I'm sure you noticed that all 4 instances, including the 17th Psalm, were set up the same way, with Yahowah listening to Dowd's request to intervene. He granted it and supported it. And those of us who accept what father and son have achieved are the beneficiaries. Also, once we followed 2 Shamuel 7 to its conclusion, we found that Palal and Tefillah were both used to broach the same subject. Therefore, this being reliable, consistent, and true, Al-Ken, the one who works with you, Ebaid, Ada, Eth, has discovered and experienced that which was not previously known, and through learning now has acquired, Matzah, his conviction, courage, and character, the motivation for his decision, Lebhu, to make this appeal to you on his own initiative to intervene for you, interceding on his own volition concerning you after considered and independent contemplation, Palal, Hel, Ada, to consistently and continually act as an arbitrator and mediator to resolve the relationship on your behalf, serving as a facilitator without compulsion or societal pressure, Hitpil infinitive, with this specific request to resolve foolish error through separation and intervention, Eth ha tefila hazoth. With this wonderful opportunity to act in a distinctly distinguishing manner which leads to becoming set apart as an intermediary while arbitrating to eliminate ignorance and whitewashing, from Palo, to intervene after contemplation, Pala, to be distinct, marked out, distinguished, and set apart, and tap hell, oblivious plastering over and irrational smearing. Shamuel 2, 7:27. How is it that billions remain oblivious to the obvious? With Yahowah and Dowd being of one accord regarding the son's decision to exonerate the people by intervening to fulfill Pesach and Matzah so marvelously introduced 3,000 years ago, we recently discovered that we would play a role in making this announcement. Therefore, Wagam, regarding someone else, the observant and discerning foreigner from a different ethnicity and geographic location who will come to understand, Ha-Nakri, who, to show the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, is not of your people, Lo, Min, Am, Ada, this Yisra'el who He will come, wa bao, from a distant country in a distant time, min eretz rachok, for the express purpose of being a witness and providing answers regarding laman, your ada, exceedingly important, tremendously empowering, distinguished and astonishingly great, hagadao, name, shem, the influence of your hand, wa yad ada, along with the chazak powerful and passionate individual who is prepared to lead, ha chazak, and, wa, the zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb. Zeroah, whom you have extended, ada haneda. When, wa, he arrives on the scene and chooses to pursue this, bao, then, wa, he will help interested parties reconcile their relationship by providing those who exercise good judgment with the information and justifications needed to make a correct and reasoned decision regarding intervention, palo, he will provide an accurate assessment, enabling thoughtful individuals to come to an agreement, and by foreseeing future events he will provide persuasive arguments which are assured to deliver the expected results pursuant to mediation, regarding this familial relationship, el ha-beth hazeh. Dabrim ha-yaumim/2 Chronicles 6 verse 32. Since we jumped ahead to consider the implications, it bears mentioning that we also encountered tefillah at the outset of the 86th Mizmor. A request to make intercession by getting involved to resolve this dispute, tefillah, by Dowd, la Dowd. Incline your ear, Nada Ozen Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah, showing your desire to answer and respond to me, testifying regarding my affliction, Anna Eni, on behalf of the unpretentious and straightforward who have been disenfranchised and persecuted, Eni, and need me, Eboyon Eni. I have chosen and you have decided, I want and you concur, that you will carefully consider, watch over, focus upon, and guard, Shamar, my soul and consciousness, Nipesh Eni, for indeed, KY, I am the steadfastly loyal and magnanimous one, the set-apart one who is realistic, compassionate, and authentic, Chasid Eni, the one you have decided to deliver, because it is your will to rescue, liberate, and save, Yasha. Your co-worker, Ebed Ada, trusts and relies upon you, Habatach El Ada. You are my God, Ada Elohim Eni. Mizmor/Psalm 86 verses 1-2. And therein is Yahowah's commentary on a thoughtful request to intervene, tefillah, an oral petition to act as a mediator after considerable contemplation to set apart, by Dowd, la Dowd. You want to hear this because I've chosen to genuinely listen, Shama, Yahowah, to what is right and vindicating, Tzedek. You want to respond to what I've chosen to hear, so please accept, Kashab, my audible request in this uplifting lyric which provides a genuine reason to be happy, Rina Eni. Choose of your own volition to weigh and evaluate what I would like you to consider, Azen, in my thoughtful petition to serve as a mediator, tefillah Eni, my oral request to intervene after considerable contemplation to set apart. Mizmor 17:1. With the religious preferring to render tefillah as prayer, no one has been listening. Hopefully, Yehudim will try a different approach. For those following along with an interlinear, you may have noticed that I removed the phrase, ba lo safa murma, with lips free of deceit, from the opening verse and have chosen to connect it with the next. It was my conclusion that the speech, devoid of deception, which never misleads, is Yahowah's as he pronounces the means to enter his presence through the mishpat means to justly resolve disputes. Therefore, with lips free of deceit, ba lo safa murma, with speech devoid of deception and dishonesty and in language that isn't misleading, fraudulent, or deceptive, regarding the approach to your presence, min lapana ada, through your approach and appearance, continue to bring forth, yatsa, descend and produce, serving by consistently extending, kal imperfect, the means to properly consider and justly resolve my case, making an informed and rational decision regarding me, mishpat Eni. The plan to thoughtfully decide what is appropriate and right regarding me resolving the dispute, a compound of my, to ponder and question and shapat, the process of deciding by exercising good judgment to resolve disputes fairly and judiciously, vindicating or convicting based upon a rational evaluation of the evidence. Your eyes, Ein Ada, your sight and perspective, what you envision and see, have chosen to foresee and envision, Chaza, want to reveal prophetic insights for the observant, Kal imperfect Jussiv, a genuine expression of volition in third person with ongoing implications, that which is straightforward and correct, Misharim, that which is right, consistent with the standard, and on the level, fair and equitable, from Yasher, to be right, straightforward, and on the level. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 2. Something which is straightforward and correct, completely on the level, is that Yahowah's people are returning to the land, and Dowd will be joining them as their king. What's straightforward and correct, completely on the level, is that Dowd is the Messiah and Son of God. What's straightforward and correct, completely on the level, is that God is going to honor every one of the promises he made to Dowd and to Yisrael. And that is because Yahowah is straightforward and correct, completely on the level. Dowd isn't claiming to be a perfect person, nor is he stating that he's done everything right, only that his judgment, motives, and character, when challenged, have proven worthy. He not only set the example we ought to emulate, but through it all, Yahowah continued to refine him, perfecting the perfect lamb through the set-apart spirit. And while that makes Dowd the exemplar and enabler of the covenant, it is what he claims next that makes him one in 100 billion. You have examined, Bakhan, at a moment in time, you assessed, Kal perfect, my judgment, my character, and my motivations, Leb Eni, my thinking and my approach to decision-making, my attitude and inclinations, my disposition and determination. You have taken stock, compiling and counting the pros and cons, packet, you numbered and inventoried, evaluating the good and bad, recording the assets and liabilities, during times of darkness, Layla, at night and away from the light, when things are gloomy and obscure, refining me by removing my imperfections, thereby perfecting me, Saraf Eni, purifying and purging me of impurities, creating a valuable and desired result like a goldsmith with a crucible. You have found nothing, Bal Matzah, you have not discovered anything habitual or ongoing, Kal imperfect, that I have planned to accomplish after evaluating the evidence nor concluded after sufficient deliberation, Zamim, that I have decided upon or determined to say, that I have considered after an informed discussion and thereafter intended to convey, Kal perfect, absolutely nothing, Bal, that will pass through my mouth that will take away from what was intended, Abar Pat any, that will cross over into my speech to negate Passover, frustrate that which has occurred, or trespass beyond its purpose, Kal imperfect. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 3. It is, after all, the test of a prophet, not one misstatement, ever, at least when serving in that role. But even here we must be as careful reading these words as Dowd was in choosing them. We have all opened our mouths and spilled our guts when keeping quiet would have been a less objectionable option. We have all said things, especially in haste, which after a more thorough investigation proved inaccurate. Sometimes our emotions get the best of us. And all of this happened to Dowd, making him real. And so, it is only the things Dowd has said, and thus written for us to read, regarding what he planned to accomplish or concluded after thoughtfully evaluating all the evidence, that remains without imperfection. As a man who cherished Yahowah's Torah teaching as much as he did through rational thinking, Dowd's insights are brilliant and are perfect when thoughtfully presented within his Mizmor songs. Beyond all else, Dowd has never taken away from what Yah intended, especially as it relates to the extension of life we derive through Dowd's sacrifice as the Passover lamb, or of his soul perfecting us during Matzah. Likewise, our declarations can be similarly free of imperfections when we accurately convey what he wrote for our benefit, especially after sufficient deliberation. It's what we know, think, and say that matters most, not what we do. Dowd's initial life was as flawed as any, and yet, his words were perfect. Dowd avoided being religious by choosing the word of Yahowah over the works of men. And he did so thoughtfully and thus came to recognize that these two approaches were the antithesis of one another, with men being covetous and violent and God being generous and kind. Concerning, law, regarding, the works, Payula, the laborious efforts, actions, and deeds, of mankind, Adam, of the descendants of Adam, through the word, Ba Daber, with the witness, of your lips, Safa, Ada, your speech, I have closely examined and carefully considered, Shamar, I have observed, the ways, Ora, the conduct and path, even the destiny, of the covetous and violent, parrots, of those who take the possessions and lives of others, who impose their will violently and savagely, robbing many in a destructive manner to satiate their ravenous appetite, showing harshness and cruelty in their ferocious and ruthless quest for power and wealth. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 4. To be discerning, we need a filter. And the best is God's testimony. It is by comparing what Yahowah has said and done to the things announced and advocated by men that we find the ultimate contrast. By writing these words, Dowd proved that he not only understood the options, but also the choice he was making. Man is a violent being, the only animal that routinely kills for sport or takes what belongs to others because of greed. God's will is manifest in the support of life while man's is shown by killing. Man's way is so prevalent, the only way to avoid stumbling into places we do not belong is to show restraint and prioritize Yahowah's way over all else. When we do so, we give up nothing worthwhile and gain everything beneficial and enduring in return. Sure, Dowd had his missteps along life's way, but never when it really mattered. His steps were seldom random because he never wavered. My steps, Asher any, my path and stance, even my stand and manner of walking, I have restrained and controlled to uphold, Tamak, I have managed and monitored to endorse, your directions and way of life, Ba Magal Ada, your teaching and guidance, your entrenched and revolving path, returning to where we began. My footsteps, Pa'am any, my strides and my conduct, have not wavered nor have they been random, Bal Mot, have not slipped, staggered, or been shaken, nor have they led to an unfavorable circumstance. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 5. It was by walking along the path of the YYV, fulfilling them, that Dowd demonstrated his unwavering support for his father's direction and guidance. His path was straightforward, blazing a trail that we would be wise to follow. Having considered the opening chapters of Shamuel, we know that Yahowah initiated first contact, finding Dowd, and reaching out to him. So, Dowd's next declaration can either be seen as his response, which was to call upon Yah and welcome him into his life, or to say that, from time to time, Dowd found pleasure in reading and reciting Yahowah's word, thereby engaging in a conversation with his father. I, myself, have called upon you and welcomed you, and I have read and recited to you, any Kara, Ada, I invited you to meet with me from time to time, having called out to you and summoned you pursuant to the YYV, Cal perfect first person singular. Indeed, KY, making an important distinction which is resolutely true, you always answer me, Anna any, you consistently and continually respond to me, providing me with the information I need in your ongoing replies, Cal imperfect Joseph. Almighty God, El, O great shepherd among the sheep, choose to incline your ear toward me, Nada Ozen La any, of your own free will, stretch out your ear in my direction, hyphal imperative second person masculine singular. You want to listen to, Shama, it is your will and desire to hear, Cal imperative, my words, to what I have to say, promise, and teach, Imra any, the instructions I'm communicating as well as the promises I'm fulfilling as part of my ordinary Amar, way of speaking, answering, thinking, promising, and intending. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 6. It's subtle, but telling, that Dowd's Kara was limited by the perfect while Yahowah's Anna was unbridled in the imperfect. This reveals that, while Dowd called out to Yah on the occasion of the Mikra, and even read to him regarding this time, God's answers were never ending. This may be why Dowd's invitations and Yahowah's replies were connected with KY, which reveals the contrast between what we can do for God and what he does for us. Reinforcing this insight, Yahowah's reply was scribed in the Joseph mood, which, as a third-person expression of volition in the midst of a first- and second-person conversation, reveals a desire for them to relate to each other in this way. And that leads us to the preceding noun, magal, Yahowah's teaching and guidance which directs our steps through life. By using the jussive mood in connection with magal, we discover that the purpose underlying Yahowah's Torah is to connect with us such that, when we give a little, God gives more. Specifically, there is no end to the answers Yahowah provides to those who read his Torah, just as there are no limits on the benefits received by those of us who invite him into our lives. This means that God wants to do more for us than we could possibly do for him. He is so delighted by the little things we think, say, and do that his rewards are unlimited and unending. While I understand that this may be hard for us to process, rather than seeking Yahowah's will for our lives, we ought to invite him to express his will in our lives. God is desirous of us reaching out so that he can empower, enrich, liberate, and enlighten us to the seventh degree. Instead of hearing us praise him, he'd much rather find a reason to praise us. And that's a father worth knowing, worth trusting, worth loving. It is also a father who wants to hear from his children, especially when they have something important to share. Also, there is a bold observation and a subtle distinction. Dowd revealed that it is Yah's will to listen to us, especially when we advance his teaching and become the living embodiment of his promises. This son realized that what he said and did would be pleasing to his father, especially because his Imra included a promise to fulfill the YYV2C6. I've noticed a pattern with Dowd that is insightful. When he speaks of the role his Nepesh soul will play in honoring Yahowah's promises regarding Pesach and Matzah, they are always written in first-person singular without a reference to gender. This is because while Dowd is masculine, a soul is feminine. Yahowah's conduct is exceedingly uncommon, completely different from the plans laid out on behalf of the gods conceived by men. In fact, the most formidable obstacle hindering those who would readily respond to Yahowah's approach to life is all of the contrarian clutter tossed in their way by mankind's most popular religions. It is hard for many to see past the debris of false gods that litters the path to God, concealing much of it from view while making what remains visible appear unsavory and unappealing. And yet, when their trash is cleared away, the truth shines brilliantly. You have chosen to wonderfully demonstrate, Paula, you want to enable the marvelous fulfillment, hyphal imperative second-person masculine singular, your loyalty and devotion, your favoritism and kindness, chesed, ada, your desire and benefits, by saving, Moshiach, by delivering and rescuing, hyphal participle, those who trust and rely on this provision to seek refuge and a protector, chasa, for those seeking a trusted place of shelter and safety, by them independently rising up and taking a stand unencumbered by societal influences, min kyum, by them, on their own initiative, electing to be restored and established, hitpiel participle masculine plural, by being right about you, ba yaman ada, with a righteous orientation on your right side and with your right hand, from Yaman, having chosen to be right. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 7. When it comes to his family, especially for his Bakar firstborn, Yahowah is always ready and eager to serve. He wants to demonstrate his love by saving his children. Our only requirement is to seek his protection and rely upon his means to deliver us from harm's way. We accomplish this by standing apart from the influence and control of politics and religion such that we can stand tall, unencumbered by societal influences. This is the lesson of the Hitpiel stem. And of course, to stand with God we must be right about God. When we are truly observant, closely examining and carefully considering Yahowah's Torah, God reciprocates and watches over us in a protective, parental manner, keeping his eyes focused upon us as his children. And when we are right with God, he does right by us. You have chosen to focus upon me, closely examining and carefully considering me, Shamar any, you want to observe me, watching over me, Kal imperative second-person masculine singular, consistent with the pupil of an individual woman's eye, Ka Ishon Bath, Ein, akin to the center and focus of a female's vision, protecting me, Sadhar any, you conceal me from harm's way, hyphal imperfect second-person masculine singular, in the shadow of your wings, B8 Selkanaf Ada, in your protective shade and lesser dimensional representation of your appendage and garment which enables soaring flight, Mizmor 17:8, from, min, the presence, pana, the appearance, of the unethical, wrong, and religiously corrupt, rasha, of the perverting presence of the revolting who oppose the proper standard and are criminal in word and deed, evil and wicked, errant and condemnable, the antithesis of being right, who want to denigrate and rob me, shadad any, who seek to devastate and ruin me, plundering me of what is rightfully mine, stealing from me, 4 QPs reads. Matashel, who interrogate me. Those who show animosity and rancor toward me, oyeb any, displaying acrimony and antagonism to me, rivals adversarial to what I represent and in opposition to what is mine, seek to encircle and sever a soul from its source, ba nipesh nakaf al any, want to baptize a soul, immersing it in an annual cycle so as to destroy its consciousness. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 9. By focusing on one, Yahowah protects his family. Consistent with the way a loving mother trains the pupil of her eye upon her child, the Ruach Kodesh of Yahowah is keen to watch over her beloved son. And it is Dowd who resides under the protective wing of his father. And yet, in spite of telling us so and acting accordingly, the religious seek instead to denigrate and plunder the apple of God's eye. Jews denied him of his accolades, titles, and service as our Savior while Gentiles, after having plundered him of these things, gave them to another. As we have been made aware, according to Shaul Paul, the Mashyach Messiah, Dowd, is rotting in his grave. He cited this very thing in the midst of his tirade in Acts 13. He wasn't just wrong in this regard, by denigrating Dowd, he robbed every soul of the connection between God and his Son, and thus of the covenant. Billions of souls have been severed from the source, many baptized into a life that ends in the destruction of their souls. Don't say you were not forewarned. And yet, there is little if anything we can do for those foolish enough to be bamboozled by the father of lies. Their faith precludes them from processing Yahowah's words, accepting Dowd's, or even tolerating yours or mine. They are closed off and callous, Keleb hem sagar, their hearts are hardened and unreceptive, their minds are closed, and their thinking has atrophied and become flabby, such that the means to reach them is obstructed and shut, Cal perfect. With their mouths, pehem, they speak, dabber, they communicate, of presumed illustriousness, blowing billowing columns of smoke, bagef, of majestic and glorious outcomes, of having a high status and rank, but it's undue and unwarranted, both agitating and arrogant, conceited praise which surges forth from the sea and erodes the haughty. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 10. Indeed, the religious, particularly rabbis and popes, speak illustriously of themselves, claiming they are God's representatives and the beneficiaries of his promises. They claim they are going to heaven while hell-bent. Billowing out unending plumes of smoke, the arrogant presume that they are saved, believing that their dying God is returning for them. Their plight is the worst of all worlds. Their ears and eyes are shut, and their minds are closed, while their mouths are open, belligerently professing the opposite of what's actually true. If God spoke directly to them, they would not hear him. If he appeared before them, they would not recognize him. If someone read Yah's testimony to them, they'd either ignore it or reject it. And all the while they will vociferously profess their irrational and misguided faith ad nauseam as if the volume rather than the merit of their words is what matters. The slanderous slights and vicious strikes Christians direct at God's people as a result of their anti-Semitic New Testament are so extensive, so widespread, and have been perpetrated for so many centuries, it's difficult to properly convey the magnitude of the problem. Only the damage that rabbis have done to their own people exceeds this Christian level of carnage. If I were to write another 20 books on the direct connection between this appalling abuse of God's people and the Christian religion with replacement theology and with the New Testament, I don't think anyone could endure reading about it. Antisemitism is the metastasized cancer of Christianity. It is the reason that its founder, the inspiration behind its scriptures, Shaul Paul, is called the plague of death. There is no shortage of books on this subject. For those eager to understand why God hates religion generally, and associates Roman Catholicism with Babylon specifically, consider reading The Worst Thing About My Church, A Compelling History of Catholic Antisemitism by Charles Morris, Constantine's Sword, The Church and the Jews by James Carroll, Christian Antisemitism, A History of Hate by William Nichols, A History of Catholic Antisemitism, The Dark Side of the Church by Robert Michael, Unholy War, The Popes Against the Jews, The Vatican's Role in the Rise of Modern Antisemitism by David Kurtzer, Hitler's Pope, The Secret History of Pius XII, by John Cornwell, or my favorite, The Anguish of the Jews by Edward Flannery, who was actually a Catholic priest. Warning Yehudim about Shaul's corrupting influence long before any of the aforementioned was written, Yahowah inspired Dowd to write to us on this day. Now at this time, simultaneously, they track us down and try to restrict our path, Asher and Aknu, they pursue us as if stalking their prey. They have surrounded me and have turned against me, Sabab Eni, they are circling all around me, turning on me from every direction, setting their perspective and imposing themselves while making demands as they look, Einhem forcefully imposing themselves from their perspective, enacting restrictions and requirements while establishing conditions as they gaze upon and consider what they can do, to conspire to cast us out of the region and land, Nada Ba Ha Eretz, scheming and plotting to spread out and extend themselves into the land, different order in 11 QPs. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 11. Christians are guilty of having done this for as long as they have existed. Some, however, were worse than others. There was one particular Christian, a Presbyterian, who, while running his business as his own fundamentalist religion, in Pauline fashion requiring employees to quote from his sayings and sing to his greatness, took tracking down Jews to an entirely new level. It is one of the darkest secrets of the Holocaust. Without Thomas Watson and IBM's participation and support, genocide on the scale that the mountains of human ash now reveal would not have occurred. IBM's punch card system for compiling and reporting census data made the systematic identification and detainment of Jews feasible. Tens of millions of punch cards and thousands of tabulating machines, all backed up, serviced, and supported at IBM's New York headquarters enabled the Nazis to coordinate every aspect of mankind's most hideous killing machine, managing every aspect of the Holocaust from train schedules to incineration, from the collection of Jewish people and their property to their final destination. Each individual received a tattoo directly linking them to IBM's efficient system. This occurred as Nazi Germany became one of the most important customers of the firm destined to become an international data processing giant. Also telling, prior to 1945, and under Watson's direction, every IBM employee was a Protestant Christian. Jews were not welcome within the company which facilitated their annihilation. Read Edwin Black's IBM and the Holocaust. It is also interesting that, by turning against Dowd, Christians, IBM, and the Nazis were able to impose their demands on Jews. With Dowd's position as the Son of God, the Messiah, and Savior renounced, Jews became easy prey. As we approach Dowd's next statement, especially recognizing that Shaul was a Benjamite wolf, the reference to a lion, even as a vicious beast ready to pounce on its prey, may appear at first blush to be an opportunity Dowd may have missed in his quest to expose and condemn his adversary. And yet, such is not the case. Dowd did not say that this monster was a lion, but that he came in the appearance and likeness of a lion, symbolic of Yehudim Jews. As one of their own, Paul would prey upon his people and devour them. Driving this point home, Paul's lone prophetic statement, one he managed to get wrong, was about a violent snatching away or raptus rapture, in Latin and harpazo snatching away in Greek. He, in the appearance and likeness of a lion, Dimion hu ka arie, he, in the manner of and resembling a destructive beast hunting his prey, yearns, kasaf, has an overwhelming desire, is longing and eager, to tear apart and pluck away, lateref, to render useless by mangling, causing a violent and abhorrent death as a predatory beast, as a means of purging, waka kafir, as a newborn lion in upstart villages, from kafar, to cover over, to purge, and to propitiate in an attempt to Reconcile and to accept a bribe as the price to end the lives of those living in impoverished communities, establishing a life of ambush, Yasha Mistar, by settling upon and dwelling in places used to hide the aggressors and conceal their victims, removing them from sight such that the perpetrators are not held accountable. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 12. Christianity's false prophet would tear the people he abandoned away from their God, but that was not enough. The conspiracy he initiated served as the impetus behind his church's lifelong subjugation and abuse of Yehudim, leading to the abhorrent deaths of millions of Jews. All of Christian Europe became a place of ambush, and remains so. Love isn't the answer, nor is politically correct multiculturalism. There is nothing desirable, tolerant, compassionate, or correct about what Christians have done to Jews over the millennia. Tolerating this heinous behavior and appeasing the Christian conspirators only serves to exacerbate the problem. The extent of the suffering initiated by Paul and perpetrated in the name of Christianity, individually and collectively, is unconscionable. To be moral, and to prevent additional suffering, it is long past time that someone rightfully and courageously exposed and condemned the true nature of this predatory beast. And there is none better to do so than this Father in his Son. It is your will and mine to take a stand, Kyum, you and I have chosen to rise up, Kal imperative cohortative, Yahowah, God's proper name pronounced as taught and guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his Haya, existence, to confront his presence, Kadam Panahu, to face him in a hostile and antagonistic manner, making him bow down in submission, Kara, who, making him vulnerable, miserable, and prostrate, Hyphal imperative. It's your will and mine to rescue, Palat, to provide deliverance and survivability, securing, Peel imperative cohortative, from 11 QPs, my identity, Nipesh Eni, what I truly represent, who I am, my consciousness and character, and the essence of my life, my very soul, from the evil one, Min Rasha, from the wicked, corrupt, and perverted one who is wrong, from the religious and revolting one, and from such a plague, Wa Min Niga, from this disease, from 4 QPs, by your ability to cut. Through this, Cherub Ada, by your propensity to cut down and do away with using your desolating implement and sword. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 13. The pseudo-rabbinical Benjamite born as Shaul, who adopted the Roman name, Paulos, as a tribute to Apollo, will be confronted in a hostile and antagonistic manner as he bows down in submission before Yahweh and Dowd. I relish the thought of Dowd rebuking the evil one, condemning the father of lies for everything this hideous adversary of his people has done to shortchange and impoverish their lives. For many years now I've wanted to testify against Paul, but now I think listening to Dowd will be vastly more entertaining. That said, this next statement seems to indicate something heretofore seldom seen in Dowd songs. The Mashyach appears to be celebrating our inclusion into Yahowah's family during this occasion of restoration and return. He is genuinely happy that there will be others apart from his people who will share in the bounty and receive an inheritance. And at this juncture, we have every reason to suspect that his ode to these few individuals is a result of what the prophet saw them accomplish on behalf of Yehudim and Yisraelites. Because a few people, min math, out of the adult human population, and especially few men, by your hand, Yada, are led by your influence, Yahowah, God's personal and proper name transliterated as guided by his Torah, instruction on his Haya, existence and the role he plays in our Shalom, reconciliation as our Eloah, God, out of the adult human population, min math. Because of a few individuals, of this world during their lifespan, min child, on this planet while they are alive, will share a portion of the allotment as a reward, Kelek, whose beneficial fate and share are determined by their choices, are assigned and come to possess part of the same territory, during this occasion of restoration and renewal, by sustaining and revitalizing them, nourishing and blessing their lives, adding to their prosperity and welfare. With all that you value, Watsaf and Ada, with your hidden treasure, you satiate their desires and fulfill their needs, male, Betenhem, you furnish and complete their innermost being. They are overwhelmingly content and abundantly satisfied, Saba, all their needs are met, children, Ben, sons. Spiritually, they live, and they leave, Wanowak, as their spiritual energy promotes restoration in this alliance, they dwell by offering, what remains of this abundance, Yederhem, that which is outstanding on behalf of the remnant, for their offspring, La, Owlhem, their children as they mature up through their adolescence. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 14. Math, which speaks of a few individuals out of the human population, is the least used of the many Hebrew terms for man. Beginning with the most common, we find YSH individual, Adam humankind, and Enaush mortal man, followed by Jeber valiant defender, but also Nipesh soul and Basar animal nature. By selecting math, we know that those who respond to Yahowah will be few in number and thus the antithesis of popular, numerous, or common. Our second insight regarding the beneficiaries of Yah's hand and influence is that these individuals are out of the child, world and not Eretz, land, indicating that these fortunate souls are Goim. Their reward will come as a result of their decision to participate in the covenant. This is the means Yahowah has provided to abundantly satisfy the needs of his children, to restore and renew his family, and to offer those he adopts an inheritance. Additionally revealing, these fortunate few will be empowered and enriched during this time of restoration and renewal and thus will play their part in calling Yehudim and Yisraelites home as we approach the time of Jacob's troubles. Keeping in mind that this was the result of Yah's hand, and that Dowd was articulating how these people would come to receive their reward, it is interesting to note that in Mizmor 89:13, it was said of him, alongside you, the protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb will serve as your strong hand raised up high at your right side. It also bears mentioning that the math give as they were given. Brought into Yah's family as the children of the covenant, the first thing they do is share the benefits with their offspring, those who will come to be adopted into God's family as a result of what they have come to know and convey. And what is true of them, is true of Dowd. By being right, ba tzedek, through being correct, in accord with the standard, discerning and accurate, vindicated and acquitted, I, any, will look upon, chaza, will behold and as a prophet reveal, gazing upon, kal imperfect, your presence and face, pana, ada, your appearance. When I awake, QYTS, with my awakening, and after being roused and taking action following an especially hot summer, living again after dying, I will be completely fulfilled, overwhelmingly satisfied, and abundantly content. Shaba, all of my needs will be met and exceeded, inspiring confidence and conviction, kal in perfect cohortative, with your visual appearance and likeness, Tamuna, Ada, your image and representation, and with your unique and special, uncommon association and relationship. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 17 verse 15. When we are right with God, we share Dowd's confidence and enthusiasm. We, like Yah's beloved Son, are assured of entering our Father's presence, gazing into the very face of our Creator. This is yet another reference to Dowd's reawakening, and of the second and third coming of the Messiah and return of the Son of God. On this day, whether it be Bikurim or Kippurim, Dowd will be re-energized and empowered to be sure, but more telling still, he will be as we will be, completely fulfilled, overwhelmingly satisfied, and abundantly content. While that is known, what I cannot say for certain is whether Dowd is overwhelmingly satisfied with Yahuwah's visual appearance or if he is now completely fulfilled by being in Yahuwah's likeness. They are related concepts, with one the result of the other. And both are assured for the covenant's children. And yet, being like God is different than liking God. No matter how we interpret the conclusion of the 17th Mizmor, it is as profound as it is inspiring, as telling as it is rewarding. From beginning to end, this is an amazing song. A thoughtful request to intervene, petitioning to act as a mediator after considerable contemplation, Tefillah, by Dowd, La Dowd. You want to hear this because I've chosen to genuinely listen, Shama, Yahowah, Yahowah, to what is right and vindicating, Tzedek. You want to respond to what I've chosen to hear, so please accept, Kashub, my audible request in this uplifting lyric which provides a genuine reason to be happy, Rina Eni. Choose of your own volition to weigh and evaluate what I would like you to consider, Azan, in my thoughtful petition to serve as a mediator, Tefillah Eni. Mizmor 17:1. With lips free of deceit, ba lo, safa murma, regarding the approach to your presence, min la pana ada, continue to bring forth, yatsa, the means to properly consider and justly resolve my case, making an informed and rational decision regarding me, mishpat Eni. Your eyes, Ein Ada, have chosen to foresee and envision, Chaza, that which is straightforward and correct, Mishurim. Mizmor 17:2. You have examined, Bakon, my judgment, my character, and my motivations, Leb Eni. You have taken stock, compiling and counting the pros and cons, Pakad, during times of darkness, Layla, refining me by removing my imperfections, thereby perfecting me, Sarif Eni. You have found nothing, Bal Matzah, that I have planned to accomplish after evaluating the evidence or concluded after sufficient deliberation, Zamam, absolutely nothing, Bal, that will pass through my mouth that will take away from what was intended, Abar Pep Eni. Mizmor 17:3. Concerning, La, the works and deeds, Payula, of humankind, Adam, through the word, Ba Daber, of your lips, Safa Ada, I have observed, Shamar, the ways and conduct, even the destiny, Ora, of the covetous and violent who impose their will and rob many in a cruel and ruthless quest for power and wealth, parrots. Mizmor 17:4. My steps, for the benefit of the relationship, Asher Eni, I have restrained and controlled to uphold, Tamak, your directions and way of life, Ba Magal Ada. My footsteps, Payam Eni, have not wavered nor have they been random, Balmot. Mizmor 17:5. I, myself, have called upon you and welcomed you, and I have read and recited to you in conjunction with your Mikri Y, Eni Kara, Ada. Indeed, it is true, KY, you always answer me, Anna Eni. Almighty God, El, choose to incline your ear toward me, Nada Ozen La Eni. You want to listen to, Shama, my words, to what I have to say and teach, including the promises I intend to fulfill, Imra Eni. Mizmor 17:6. You have chosen to wonderfully demonstrate, Paula, your loyalty and devotion, your favoritism and kindness, Chisit Ada, by saving, Moshe, those who trust and rely on this provision to seek refuge and a protector, Chasa, by them independently rising up and taking a stand unencumbered by societal influences, Min Kyum, by being right about you, Ba Yaman Ada. Mizmor 17:7. You have chosen to focus upon me, closely examining and carefully considering me, Shamar Eni, consistent with the pupil of an individual woman's eye, Ka Ishon Bath Ein, protecting me, Sathar Eni, in the shadow of your wings, Ba Tselkanaf Ada, Mizmor 17:8, from, Min, the presence, Pana, the appearance, of the unethical, wrong, and religiously corrupt, Rasha, who want to denigrate and rob me, Shadad Eni. Those who show animosity and rancor toward me, Oyeb Eni, seek to encircle and sever a soul from its source, baptizing a soul by immersing it in an annual cycle, thereby destroying that soul, Ba Nipesh Nakaf Al Eni. Mizmor 17:9. They are closed off and callous because their hearts are hardened and unreceptive, Caleb Hemsagar. With their mouths, Pehem, they speak, Daber, of presumed illustriousness, blowing billowing columns of smoke while proclaiming glorious outcomes, Bagef. Mizmor 17:10. Now at this time, Ada, they track us down and try to restrict our path, Asher and Aknu. They have surrounded me and have turned against me, Sabab Eni, setting their perspective and imposing themselves while making demands as they, Ein Hemshyd, conspire to cast us out of the region and land, Nada Ba Ha Eretz. Mizmor 17:11. He, in the appearance and likeness of a lion, Dimyon hu ka Aryeh, yearns, Kasaf, to tear apart and pluck away, Lataref, as a means of purging, Waka Kafir, establishing a life of ambush, Yashab Ba Miztar. Mizmor 17:12. It is your will and mine to take a stand, Kyum, Yahowah, Yahowah, to confront his presence, Kadam Panahu, making him bow down in submission, Karahu. It's your will and mine to rescue, Palat, my identity, Nipesh Eni, from the evil one, Min Rasha, and from such a plague, Wamin Niga, by your ability to cut through this, Cherub Ada. Mizmor 17:13. Because a few people, Min Math, by your hand, Yad Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah, out of the adult human population, Min Math, of this world during their lifespan, Min Shield, will share a portion of the allotment as a reward, Kelek, during this occasion of restoration and renewal, Ba Hache. With all that you value, what Safin Ada, you satiate their desires and fulfill their needs, male, Bitenhem. They are overwhelmingly content and abundantly satisfied, Saba, children, Ben. Spiritually, they live, and they leave, Wa Nowak, what remains of this abundance, Yetterhem, for their offspring, La, Awulhem. Mizmor 17:14. By being right, Ba Tzedek, Eni, will look upon, Chaza, your presence and face, Pana, Ada. When I awake, Qyts, I will be completely fulfilled, overwhelmingly satisfied, and abundantly content, Shaba, with your visual appearance and likeness, Tamuna, Ada. Mizmor/lyrics to sing /Psalm 17 verse 15. Yod Hey. In concert with the 3 lives of Dowd David, let's continue our prophetic journey with a tour through the book of Yirma'yah Jeremiah. You may be surprised by what he has to say considering how few seem to acknowledge it. Woe, Howie, alas, this warning, to the shepherds and pastors, Araya, the ministers who lead the flock, claiming authority to rule, who mislead, showing a complete disregard for those who are lost, Abad, who have led astray and destroyed, causing irreparable damage, expulsion, and annihilation, Peel participle, a verbal adjective whereby the object suffers the effect of being misled, and, Wa, who have scattered, Puts, who have attacked, leading to the dispersing of, the sheep, Beth. So and, the flock, for my shepherding and nurturing, Mari youth any, of my guidance, leadership, protection, and company, from I, to consider the purpose of Ra, pasturing, grazing, guiding, feeding, associating with, befriending, teaching, tending to, and shepherding a flock of sheep, prophetically declares, Naam, reveals and discloses in advance of it happening, Yahowah, Yahowah, God's personal and proper name transliterated as guided by his Torah, instruction on his Haya. Existence and the role he plays in our Shalom, reconciliation as our Eloah, God. Yirma'yah/Yah lifts me up /Jeremiah 23 verse 1. The only thing worse than misdirecting God's flock such that they go astray is doing so while claiming to be leading them home. Such is the nature of religious clerics, and it is why this condemnation begins with Howie. Initially, I read this as a warning against rabbis because they were the most prone to mislead Yah's sheep, especially on his pasture. But upon further consideration, it could apply to Christian pastors and priests, Islamic imams, and the societal and political elite among progressives as well. A decided majority of each are vocal in their proliferation of outright lies, especially when directed at Israel, Jews, and Zionists. Far too many are fixated on removing God's people from the land he gave them so that it can be awarded to the Pakistani terrorists. This mandate will, in harmony with this prophecy, become the most anti-Semitic and divisive issue of our time. As a curiosity, the meaning of Yirma'yah's name isn't readily discernible. The most closely related word to the prefix Yah in his name is Yar, to respect and revere. But it is also possible that the Y, from any, denotes me, and that the actionable root is rum, to rise up and to be lifted up. There is even the possibility that Yirma'yah is based upon Yara, to teach, guide, and instruct. The options are, therefore, 1. Respect and revere Yah, 2. Yah lifts me up and raises me, or 3. That teaches and guides. While all 3 are possible, there will be an absolute and unequivocal consequence for promoting religious notions. This realization is confirmed with the transitional phrase, Laken, therefore, in return, linking misleading religious behavior with Yahowah's condemnation. Therefore, Laken, in return and as a consequence, this is what, here and now, Yahowah, Yahowah, God's personal and proper name transliterated as guided by his Torah, instruction on his Haya, existence and the role he plays in our Shalom, reconciliation as our Eloah, God, the God of Yisra'el, Elohim Yisra'el, the God of those who engage and endure with the Almighty, says, Omar, declares, in opposition to those acting as shepherds and pastors, Al-Ha'arayah, the ministers over the flock. Those leading, feeding, and shearing, Ha'arayah, the shepherds tending to and guiding, ruling over and herding, my people, Any, my family, you, Adam, the many of you, yourselves, have led astray, pushed away, and scattered, Puts, you have chaotically displaced, attacking, dashing, and dispersing, even besieging and separating, Hyphal perfect, the subject, in this case the rabbis, have caused the object, the misled sheep, to go astray for a period of time, causing them to be like their evil shepherds in the process, my flock, FTS on any, my sheep, and, Wa, you have consistently driven them away by continually seducing them, Nadakhem. You have compelled and enticed them, leading them astray, you have lured and drawn them away, preying upon them, you have exerted enormous pressure and thereby thrust them aside, exiling and banishing them, you have made them outcasts, Hyphal imperfect, the religious leaders have continually seduced and harassed God's sheep and thereby caused them to become outcasts for a prolonged period of time, just like themselves. Therefore, Wa, in addition, you have not been concerned about them, lo, packet, ethem, you have not taken them into account, attended to them, or considered them, Cal perfect. So behold, Hina, at this moment, right here and now, pay attention to this, look up, this point is being emphasized, myself, will hold you accountable and will reckon this against you, Packet Adam, I will consider what you have done and take it into account, I will take inventory of this opposition, retaining a record regarding your accountability, even summon and punish you, Cal participle, a descriptive verb which presents an actual time of reckoning against the rabbis. Because of, the willful misconduct and unethical nature, ROA, the harmful effect, the displeasing and injurious result, the corrupting and perverting aspects, and the evil and improper intent, from RAA, the evil and bad, willfully wrong, corrupting, perverting, injurious, and shattering consequences, of your foolish deeds and wanton abuses, Ma'elo Adam, defiling actions and abusive practices, from Elo. Ruthless behaviors, malevolent dealings, deceptive practices, foolish acts, and childish tendencies. Prophetically declares, Na'am, announces and conveys the message with authority, reveals, foretells, and predicts, Yahowah, Yahowah. Yirma'yah /respect and revere Yah Jeremiah 23 verse 2. This prophetic indictment is directed primarily against the leadership of Jewish political and religious institutions. Rather than guiding, protecting, and nurturing Yah's flock, concerned only with themselves, they have become unethical, harmful, ruthless, wanton, and deceptive. Religion and politics remain the root of much evil. They are the most deceptive, destructive, deadly, and damning institutions on earth. So, for Yahowah to be fair, to be a worthy shepherd, God will hold them accountable. He will treat the rabbis as they have treated their victims. And that is why Sheol, the place of separation, will be a very religious and political place, a prison filled with rabbis. Yahowah has just revealed one of life's greatest ironies. Religious establishments such as ultra-Orthodox Judaism, whose rabbis claim to be serving GD, are actually driving people away from God. Therefore, God is holding leaders accountable for crimes of commission and omission. It's not just their errant and improper endeavors, but their failure to attend to the needs of his people in this accusation. And that is to say people need guidance, which shouldn't be a surprise considering Yahowah's Torah-sanctioned deployment of Shabat judges. It also means that those who seek leadership positions will be sanctioned for doing the wrong thing in addition to failing to serve the right way. So, if you don't know what's right, you should neither seek public office nor vote for those who do. It also means that we ought not sit on the sidelines hoping that someone else will engage to either expose and condemn all that is materially wrong with our society or remain silent when someone appears to be open to listening to Yahowah's message. Yahowah acts, always doing what is best for his people, as should we. Then, and so, myself, will obtain and gather up, kabats, I will collect, harvest, pick up, engage relationally with, then assemble, peel imperfect, the flock will be put into action by Yahowah with ongoing consequences, the remnant, Shireth, the rest and remainder of the descendants, even the residue which is left, of my flock, on my sheep, from, min, out of, all, kol, of the lands, eretz, the realms, places, and nations, where, Asher, in which is a result of the relationship and to show the way home, I have temporarily scattered them, Nadak, Ethem, I have driven and exiled them for a time, cast and banished them, Hyphal perfect, there by name, Shem, where their presence is of renown and they have developed a reputation. But, my desire is to return and restore them at this time, Shub Hina, Eth Hina, with a contingency which must be met, I have decided to gather them up, bring them back, turn them around, and completely renew them, Hyphal Vav perfect, Wakatal consecutive, should they be ready, I will choose to engage at this time in a manner which transforms them, causing them to be more like me, upon their pasture, abode, and home, Al-Noah Hina, over their beautiful dwelling place and campground. Upon their residence and settlement. And, they will be fruitful and flourish, para, they will reproduce, branch out, grow, and live abundant lives, cal perfect consecutive, during this time I want them to actually bear fruit. And, they will increase and become great, living a long and abundant life, Rabbah, they will be tremendously empowered, their status will be substantially elevated, their lives will be prolonged, they will multiply, and they will grow exponentially, cal perfect consecutive, during this time it is my desire that they become numerous, are actually empowered, and thrive. Yirma'yah raises and lifts up Jeremiah 23 verse 3. The fulfillment of this prophecy is well underway and yet far from complete. Many of those who survived the Holocaust and returned to Yisrael came from Europe and Russia, which are both located north of the Promised Land. That is important because of what Yahowah reveals in Yirma'yah 23:8. Not only do Jews remain in both places, but there are also as many Jews in America, northwest of Israel, as there are presently in God's fold. Further, relatively few Jews among the lost tribes of the northern kingdom have come home. Therefore, we should expect that a remnant of Yah's people will return from every place in which they have been dispersed. Fortunately, thanks to DNA testing, many of the lost tribes have been found, and they are right where Yahowah told us they would be. Some are just now realizing their Jewish ethnicity, which comes as quite a shock to those whose distant ancestors converted to Islam or Christianity to avoid being tortured and killed. There will be no laws or affidavits, no religious rulings, no involvement from the office of the chief rabbinate, and no aliyah in the rabbinic sense. God will dispense with the red tape and bring his people home, Yisrael and his sheep, and he will tend to his flock. Moreover, God isn't coming back to an empty home, but instead one filled with his beloved. While it has always been obvious, we have further affirmation that God's flock will enjoy the kind of life for which they were intended. It will be productive, and they will thrive. And that suggests that eternal life with Yahowah will be active and worthwhile, with us doing things that matter rather than wasting our time lounging around. It also means that we can look forward to being Rabbah, multiplied and increased in every meaningful way to facilitate these possibilities. The realization derived from this next statement, that Yehuda and Yisrael will be guided by Arayah shepherds rather than Shabat judges, is telling in that it casts eternity in a sweeter and more supportive light. This is as it should be, because during this time, we will be intimately familiar with Yahowah's Torah guidance, since a copy will be interwoven into the fabric of our lives. In such a world, no one will be intimidated, discouraged, or confused. There will be no terrorists, and the sheep will no longer be preyed upon. Then, I will raise up and establish, I will take a stand on their behalf, and I will confirm and fulfill my promise to confirm and honor, perfect, for them, those who serve as shepherds, Arayah, those who tend to, nurture, guide, and protect, so that, they will do what is best to nurture, guide, and protect them, Arayah, it is my desire for them to lead, direct, and feed them at this time, perfect. And, they shall not be afraid, they shall not be intimidated or terrorized, dread or venerate anyone, ever again, any longer. And they will not be dismayed or discouraged, they shall not be confused or abused, shattered or falter, nor will they be discounted or disregarded, and they will not be inventoried as merchandise as a result of not being properly considered or appropriately evaluated, prophetically declares, promises, Yahowah, Yahowah. Yirma'yah teaches and guides Jeremiah 23 verse 4. In having chosen Dowd to lead his people, Yahowah revealed his preference for shepherds. The best of these camp out with their flock. They live with them, walk with them, and care for them, guiding, nourishing, and protecting their sheep. Arayah to shepherd is always a verb in Hebrew and never a noun as it is typically rendered in English. Therefore, the act of Arayah shepherding necessitates actively engaging with the sheep to guide, protect, and nurture them. Doing this job well is something Yahowah values to such a degree that he afforded this distinction to his son, Dowd. He is the Arayah of Yisrael in addition to being the Melech and Mashyach. And so, while Dowd will be the lead shepherd, he will encourage others to assist. Our Heavenly Father provides many contrasts for us to consider. In this one, man scatters and defrauds and Yahowah gathers and enriches. Man misleads while God guides. As you contemplate what follows, ask yourself, how ignorant and irrational does a Christian have to be to believe in the second coming of Jesus? How is it that Christian clerics were able to ignore, even reject, what was so obviously promised by God to Dowd David? Why claim to speak for God and then convolute his message, creating the myth that these prophecies pertain to their Christ? It is as if they expected the faithful to believe that their God was so stupid that he could not remember the names of the actors in his play. Or may I ask this of Jews, when Christians began promoting the false notion that Jesus was the Messiah, Son of God, future King of Israel, and the Savior, why didn't any of you refute them by quoting God on this matter? And yet, that was then and this is now. We cannot undo the damage which has been done, but we can break the cycle of nearly universal ignorance by accepting reality and acting upon it. It is Dowd David who is returning with Yahowah, and God will establish him as the rightful branch of the tree of lives and as the King of Yisrael. And it is through the teaching of Dowd David that God's people will come to understand what Yahowah is offering and expects in return. Dowd is quite simply the most insightful and articulate person who has ever lived. Listen to what Yahowah has to say about his beloved son. Pay attention, Hina, behold, look up now, the time is approaching, Yamim Bao, the days are coming, Cal participle absolute, Yahowah, Yahowah, God's name pronounced using his Torah, instruction on his Haya, existence regarding our Shalom, reconciliation with, Eloah, God, discloses in advance of it happening, Naam, reveals and prophetically declares, when, I will take a stand by raising up and establishing, I will fulfill the promise to accomplish, affirm, and restore, through the approach of, by, concerning, and as a result of, Dowd, the beloved, errantly transliterated David, the rightful branch, Samach Tzaddik, the correct means to live and grow, the valid means to stand upright and become vindicated. Then, he will reign, Malach, he will be thoughtful, considerate, and responsive, Cal perfect, as king, Melech, as the sovereign authority and royal ruler, because, he has the insight and desire for understanding, Shakal, he has the proper focus and the knowledge from sound instruction and teaching, the intellectual capacity, and cerebral acumen to prudently prosper by teaching that which is proper, Heifel Wakadal perfect. He will be motivated to act upon and genuinely engage in, Asa, he will endeavor to respond to, profit from, and celebrate, Kal Wakadal perfect, the means to exercise good judgment and fairly resolve disputes, Mishpat, the basis upon which sound decisions are made and judgment is executed to achieve justice, from to ponder the implications of Shapat, making thoughtful decisions regarding what is just, appropriate, logical, and fair, doing so correctly, appropriately, righteously, and justly, Tzedakah, by being upright, righteous, just, proper, moral, vindicating, and acquitting, in the land, Ba Ha'eretz, within the material realm. Yirma'yah respect and revere Yah Jeremiah 23 verse 5. It is impossible to overstate the relevance of this prophecy, especially within the context of Yahowah's return to gather his flock and bring them home, and away from Israel's rabbis and Christian pastors. Just as Dowd David is the antidote for Pauline Christianity and replacement theology, he is the prescribed remedy for the localized pandemic of Judaism. Let's be clear, in this prophecy, and all others like it, including Yashayah Isaiah 9 and Shamuel 2 Samuel 7, there are only two names presented, Yahowah's and Dowd's. This is about them, their relationship, and what they will accomplish together. Yahowah never works alone. It isn't in his nature and would be contrary to his purpose. He created us because he wanted to enjoy a working relationship with humankind. The universe, especially at 6 dimensions, is ginormous, and there is a lot to oversee. Then beyond the material realm is the spiritual realm, extending into eternity in the 7th dimension. But that was then and this is now. Yahowah is sharing his crowning achievement, the most joyous moment since creation, with his beloved son, Dowd. They will approach eternity with the same mindset and resolve, pursuing what is right by doing what is correct. When we ponder the implications of Yahowah re-establishing the kingdom of Dowd, with the Mashyach Messiah serving as the Arayah shepherd of shepherds, we realize that his Mizmor psalms are the love songs composed by a father and his beloved son to call the rest of the family home. The more intently we listen to their lyrics, the more insights we'll glean about their extraordinary relationship, and the better we will understand the covenant Dowd embodies and enables. According to God, his son, Dowd David, is also going to serve as judge and jury, especially as it pertains to the mishpat means Yahowah provided to justly resolve the poor decisions which have separated us. His verdicts will be just because when it comes to our relationship with God, Dowd is always tzedakah right. Therefore, since Yahowah has given us the criterion upon which the rightful branch of the tree of lives will judge the world, we can avoid climbing out on the wrong limb. Please excuse my bewilderment, but how is it that Christians and Jews have missed the fact that this prophecy reveals that Dowd David is both liberating and saving Yehudah Judah while re-establishing Yisrael Israel? It does not say that Jesus will be saving a Gentile church or that one should expect the arrival of an unknown Messiah. The willful ignorance or cognitive dissonance on the part of the faithful to perpetuate these myths is unfathomable. In his day, Ba during his time, Yehudah, beloved of Yah and related to Yah, will be liberated and saved, Yasha, will be delivered, freed from harm's way, and rescued, experiencing salvation, Nifel imperfect, and, Yisrael, individuals who engage and endure with God, will live and remain, Shakan, will dwell and abide, Kal imperfect, by confidently trusting, detach, securely and safely by relying. And, this is his designation and reputation, Zeh Shemhu, this can be regarded as his name and renown, by which to show the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, to lead along the proper path to get the most out of life. He will be called, Kara, he will be invited and summoned, designated and welcomed, his name read and recited, Yahowah makes us right, Yahowah tzedek anaknu. Yahowah was honest with us because Yahowah vindicates those of us who are correct. Yirma'yah/Yah teaches and guides/Jeremiah 23 verse 6. With these words, Yahowah has destroyed the credibility of Christianity and Judaism. Peter, Paul, and pals, Luke, Mark, and Matthew, claimed that, for allegedly conspiring to kill Jesus, Jews had forfeited the opportunity to be saved. And there is no means to salvation in Judaism or any mention of Yahowah. Both claims were obviously wrong. The chosen people will be liberated from the oppressive nature of religion and saved by Father and Son. They will live forevermore. And just so there is no mistaking the object of God's devotion, his flock bears the names Yehudah and Yisrael. God's people are never called Hasidic or Herdim, never called Christians or Muslims. They are never referred to as being part of a synagogue or church because he has no interest or association with any such institution. He is not returning for believers or the faithful because it is only those who know, trust, and rely upon him who will endure. Therefore, Yahowah is not bringing salvation to any religious or political organization. To be saved and to live with Yah, we must become Yehudah, beloved of Yah, or Yisrael, an individual who engages and endures with God. Or both. And we must recognize that Yahowah and Dowd are the means to our redemption. The verb yasha is typically rendered as saves, which, while appropriate, isn't actually its primary connotation, which is to be freed, delivered, and liberated. After all, to be saved, we must first be removed from religion and politics. It is when we are set free of the things which separate us from Yahowah that we can be saved by him. Further, being saved isn't the be-all and end-all of our existence. The far greater gift is being afforded the opportunity to shakan, live with Yahowah, camping out with our Heavenly Father. This highly desirable outcome is afforded to those who detach, place their complete confidence in and rely upon Yahowah and the provisions he has provided in his Torah. When this is considered within the context of what follows in Yirma'yah/Jeremiah 31, we find many remarkable truths affirmed. Yahowah is returning to restore his covenant relationship with Yehudah and Yisrael. We become right with Yahowah when we are grafted into the rightful branch, which is Dowd David. There is only one Berith covenant, and it is being reaffirmed. The combined texts addressing the same event also demonstrate that Judaism is invalid. Its founding father, Rabbi Akiba, denied Dowd David his due, erroneously establishing a false Messiah in his place. There is no room for a Talmud or for anyone else intervening to speak for Yahowah or to save his people. Dowd David remains God's chosen implement to show the way to the benefits of the relationship and to reveal that it is Yahowah who makes us right. Without appreciating the underlying implications of what they have long pronounced, Jews have given lip service to Hashem's role in leading them out of Egypt. But that will change as they leave the rabbinical fold and jettison the myth that the Torah was comprised of a set of laws to be obeyed rather than guidance on the means Yahowah has provided to liberate his children. This will change when Yehudim realize that there is an actual purpose and benefit of the YYV, one which applies to them personally. When they respond to Pesach, Matzah, Bikurim, they can be part of the Shabuah and Towrah ingatherings and, therefore, return with God during Kippurim to celebrate Sukkah. As a result, I think Yahowah is asking his people to question the nature and purpose of those events, especially the YYV associated with their departure from Mitzrayim. They have been celebrating these events historically, when his intent was for them to symbolically appreciate their resulting benefits, especially now that the next Exodus is upon them. In this regard, Mitzrayim is a compound word comprised of my, to question, and sarim, adversarial and troubling situations, being besieged and in dire straits. Its basis, zar, is used to describe the time of Yaakov's troubles, where the conditions imposed on Jews will be similar. Those who ponder the means Yahowah deployed to remove them from the troubling situation in Mitzrayim, and then apply those insights to Yaakov's zar, will know how to respond to what Yahowah is asking of his people at this juncture in time. In short, the answer is to sever all political and religious allegiances, walk out of Babylon, and embrace the instructive terms of the covenant. Therefore, Laken, behold, Hina, a time is coming, Yamim Bao, prophetically declares Yahowah, Naam Yehovah, when they will no longer say, Wallo, Amar, Aud, Yahowah lives who raised, Che Yahowah, Asher, Allah, the children of Yisrael, Eth ben Yisrael, out of the realm of religious and political oppression, Min, Eretz Mitzrayim, Yirma'yah 23:7, but instead as, Kyim, Yahowah lives who raised, Che Yahowah, Asher, Allah, and who, for the benefit of the relationship, returned. Wa Asher Bao, for the descendants, Eth Zerah, of the family of Yisrael, Beth Yisrael, from the land to the north, Min, Eretz Tzaphoun, out of the realm of the hidden treasures those who are observant, from Tsafan, to be valued, Tsafa, to closely examine and carefully consider and own, all things pertaining to, and away from, Wa Min, all of the places, Kol Ha Eretz, where I had scattered and banished them there by name, Asher Nadak Hem Shem. Then they shall live and remain, Wa Yashab, upon their own soil, Al Adamahem. Yirma'yah / respect and revere Yah / Jeremiah 23:8. Let it be known, there will be a second Yatzah, Exodus, this one occurring during the time of Jacob's troubles. As was the case 3,448 years previously, Yahowah is coming to liberate the children of Yisrael from the places religion, politics, and conspiracy oppressed them. The overwhelming preponderance of diaspora Jews currently reside north of Yisrael, over 95%, particularly in the United States, Canada, Europe, and Russia. Moreover, there are hundreds of thousands of ethnic Yisraelites around the Caspian Sea, where the 10 lost tribes were taken by the Assyrians long ago. However, beyond geography, by using Tzaphoun, God may also be saying that those who return will be highly valued hidden treasures who are observant. Yahowah lives, as does his son. He and Dowd returning to withdraw the descendants of the House of Yisra'el from the Gentiles who have abused them. God's people will never again be told that they must surrender their land. Yisrael was and remains Yahowah's gift to the descendants of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob. This is, therefore, the ultimate homecoming, a time for great celebration, at least for those who matter, Yehudim and Yisrael, Dowd and Yahowah, and those who have embraced their covenant. Yod Hey Wahey.